Alrighty, and it's recording. Um, my name is Andrew Betts, and I'm interviewing Bill Williams, the owner of Apollo Medical Services. Thank you for being here with me, Bill.
You're welcome.
So, what are your general day-to-day duties as the owner of this business? And what does your business do?
Let's start off with what the business does.
Mm-hmm.
We actually sell medical products, orthopedic products, primarily post-operative products, and we sell sleep apnea products, CPAPs and BiPAPs. And my day-to-day activities are to make sure that we get the products out to the patients so that the patients are taken care of either post-operatively or based upon their diagnosis of sleep apnea.
Mm-hmm. So it's sleep apnea and also orthopedic equipment, right?
It sounds like kind of an odd combination, but I started off in orthopedics, and while I was doing orthopedics, someone on MacDill Air Force Base, we handle a lot of TRICARE patients. They asked us if we didn't mind looking into the sleep apnea end of it. And once we looked into it, we decided to incorporate that into our business model. And so we do both.
Who do you receive your products from?
Well, we receive them from several manufacturers, but our primary manufacturer, one is out of Dallas, Texas. Their name is Blood Soap Brace. They manufacture orthopedic products, and the sleep apnea products are primarily from ResMed, but we also deal with Respironics, and they're both out of the Northeast.
When did you start this business, and how did you decide to start it?
Been in the business now for about 27 years, and actually got into it by accident. I worked with a local utility company called Tampa Electric Company, and I was actually participating in a triathlon. And while I was in the triathlon, I met the owner of a medical distribution company that was out of Orlando. And one thing led to another, and to make a long story short, I ended up working for him as a sales rep. I was a sales rep for a few years, and then became my own distributor. So I never anticipated this was a career path. I figured I'd be with Tampa Electric still.
Yeah. Wow. How long did you work as a distributor before you started your own business?
Well, basically as a sales representative, I actually learned the intimate details of the business. Then I became a distributor. When I became a distributor, that was basically my own business. And started off as me being the sales rep, the distributor, and the owner. But then as time grew and business grew, you start adding on a sales rep one at a time. And at one point in time, the company actually had 18 sales reps. I had exclusivities in the state of Florida. But as time progressed, I sold a portion of my company. And now all we handle is TRICARE. And we have a couple of sales reps. We have a couple of office personnel. And we deal with the orthopedics and sleep apnea just with TRICARE, which is the military. So things kind of evolved, but at one point in time there was a huge company that became worth some money, and that's why I sold it.
How did you decide on your legal business structure? Like it was a partnership, right, to begin with?
No, actually, it was an individual sole proprietorship, and then I became a partner with Steve. But basically, coincidentally enough, when I went to college at Florida State, where you're at right now, I actually took business management classes. So I was a business management major. And when I was with Tampa Electric Company, you can apply some of the business management philosophies to the corporate structure. But then when you get into your own business, you really end up applying a lot of the business management strategies that you're learning currently today in your own business, and then you become a corporation. So it really became handy. And I actually went back through some of my business management classes and looked at some of the books, and you look at some of the charts, and you look at some of the flow charts as far as how a company is supposed to work from top to bottom, laterally, and also from bottom to top, and realizing that all the integral parts is just as important as one or together. But it is kind of a coincidental how everything kind of came together. But you follow some of those same classes that you're taking right now, and you follow some of the same management strategies that you're doing right now, marketing, management, as far as cash flow, as far as making sure your employees are taken care of, as far as your tax payroll, all that kind of comes together, but that's what you're running right now. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. How much time, money, and planning did it take to before deciding to, branch off and separate into your own business?
Quite a bit. It's a very anxious time. Sometimes being in a corporate setting like I was with Tampa Electric, you have what they call a security blanket. And, you have your salary, you have your benefits, you have your car, all those things are nice because you know the income and you can plan for the income that you're going to get. But the rewards and the risk are quite a bit higher when you go into business for yourself. So, yes, it's very anxious. You already know your security blanket is gone. There are some times that you don't know if you're going to make it. There are some times that you pay your employees first and you don't get a paycheck for a while. But all those things do come together if you plan properly. But it's a constant evolving planning and organization. It's not that you just sit down one day and you say, okay, this is my plan, and then implement that plan, and then it works. It's a matter of setting up a plan, knowing that plan is going to change over time, and knowing that you have to implement that plan, incorporating changes, and being able to evolve at the same time. But you always are constantly going back to square one, manipulating that plan so that it works for today. And I'll give you an example. The environment when I first started in medical sales, we sold our products directly to the doctors. If the doctors took that product, they applied them to the patient as they saw fit, and they actually billed for them. As time and as the medical world changed, it became impossible for the doctors, and there are rules and laws about doctors buying product and selling that same product. They can't do that anymore. They have a product that they have to purchase for their patient. Somebody else has to apply it and bill the insurance company. It's called, you can't do that under one single roof. So I actually had to learn from the first day, this goes back to constant change, selling directly to the doctor, to where I ended up selling to the insurance company, but I still provide for the patient. And so that was a change that we had to incorporate, but it became a very profitable change because instead of selling to the doctor, now we're selling to the insurance company, and by selling to the insurance company, there are bigger margins, and also the patient is taken care of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
But we did not see that, and I did not see that at the very beginning. But if we wanted to continue to, what I call, move our product and be able to get them to the patient, we had to learn how to sell to the insurance company, not just to the doctor.
So is that who you generally sell to, is through the insurance companies?
I would say 99% of our business now is sold directly to the medical insurance companies, provided that we have a prescription from the doctor, and then we provide that product to the patient, either ourselves or the doctor provides it to the patient, but we're selling it to them. We're actually billing the insurance company. We are what we call a third-party biller now. That makes sense?
Yeah. Was business like really slow when you started off, like the first year or so, or did it pick up pretty quick?
Yes and no. And the reason I say both is it was very busy times. You probably had a lot of 12, 14-hour days. I had a lot of time where I traveled. I spent the night. You didn't know whether you were going to make a sell or not. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like a numbers game in marketing. You make, over a month's time, you make about 100 calls, and if 10 of them are successful, you've done well. And of those 10, if 2 or 3 of them become very legit, where they're buying product on a revolving basis, those are the type of accounts you want. So yes, there's a lot of failure. Mm-hmm. That's what sales are about, and it's the success. And I'm sure you've learned in some of your marketing and management classes that when you market a product, you can have 100 different hits. And of those 100 hits, you may only be successful with 3, but those 3 hits can be very successful if they're continually buying from you. So yeah, business was slow until you built it up. But once it builds up, you start networking, and 1 account turns into 2 accounts, 2 accounts turn into 4, then you have 8, and you have 16, and so over a year's time, it builds, and that's why eventually, even though I started off as my own, eventually there were so many accounts, and you still wanted to provide the quality of service, you had to get someone else in there to help out with the accounts, and then when that grew, you had to get someone else in there to grow the numbers. And quite frankly, when you're a distributor, you're only as good as your last numbers, and you always have goals that you have to meet. And so you have an overall goal that you have to meet, and you have to break that goal down into your sales reps. And your sales reps have a goal per territory, but all those territories have to add up to that one goal that you already set from your manufacturer. And if you don't hit that goal, believe you that manufacturer is going to look at you and say, "Sorry, you're not going to distribute for us anymore. We're going to find someone that can." Luckily, I never had to go through something like that.
Yeah. How do you advertise or promote your business?
A lot of the advertising is done from the manufacturers themselves. However, most of our advertising is done word of mouth.
That's what I would have thought.
Yeah, in this modern technological world, you would think a lot of the advertising is done, via email or via seminars on the web and things of that nature, but it's still very much a customer service oriented world where there's a saying in our industry that out of sight, out of mind, you're not going to get any business. And so our sales reps, as long as you're in front of that doctor, you're showing the doctor new products, you're showing the doctor the new technology that's involved with the products, and you're servicing his patients, he's going to deal with you. But if you're not going to call on him and you're not going to show your face, they want to know the face behind the name, and they want to know the person that's going to be helping them with their patients, because it's their licensure, it's their practice that's on the line. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What are the licensing requirements for your business?
Believe it or not, there's not very many licensure requirements in the state of Florida. If you're dealing with Medicare, yes, you have to be accredited through what they call an ACA organization for Medicare. You have to be in compliance with Medicare. But as far as the state of Florida, as long as you have a business license and you pay for that license and you're a taxpayer and you have a sales certification, you can pretty much open your own business. Now, obviously, there's certain criteria that you have to follow with HIPAA, and there's certain criteria that we have to follow with TRICARE, as well as Medicare. But technically, there's really not a lot of schooling that you have to go through. A lot of it is on-the-job training, and just a matter of following the processes correctly so that you have your correct certifications in place.
How many employees do you have?
Currently, we have 5 of us. About 7 years ago, there were 24 of us.
Oh. Which do you like better, having more employees or less?
I enjoyed both. And at the time, and at the age I was when we had 24 employees, it was fun, it was invigorating, and it was energizing. Today, being a little older and being a little more relaxed, the energy's still there, but it's nice to be able to have a handle on your business yourself, be able to take off when I want. Things kind of roll on their own a little bit right now, but that's years and years of networking, and I can do that. Technology today, because of your cell phones, because of what we're doing right now, and because of the internet, I can actually do business from a remote location. As long as I have someone here at the office or someone here in the area that still can deliver a product to a patient or a product to a doctor's office, that's what's kind of nice about technology today.
Yeah, for sure. How do you select potential employees?
Well, out and look at their education background, look at their competitive background. What I mean by competitive background, it could be in athletics, it could be in just about a matter of anything to see, one, if they're competitive in academics, how they score in academics. I don't necessarily say an A is the best student. Sometimes the best person for the job could be a average student that has a lot of extracurricular activities, maybe a very competitive athlete that is energized. That person may be better than that straight A student that doesn't have any social skills.
Yeah.
So basically there's, folks like yourself that have worked in the restaurant industry as a waiter. They make very good sales rep because they have those communication skills. They have the ability to be able to look at people, to be able to look at them in the eyes and be able to carry a conversation on. And they also have to listen in order to get the order right. And all those qualities are good as far as a sales rep. And those are primarily the employees that we hire. Now, some of our office personnel, as far as billing, our office manager has to be able to multitask, has to be able to organize as far as schedules, as far as appointments with patients, appointments with sales reps, and make sure the payroll is taken care of. So that's a whole different task. But our primary folks that run the business are the sales reps. And the sales reps are the ones that bring the business to the office. And those sales reps are just, like I discussed, would be someone that's competitive, someone that has that social skills, someone that has the communication skills, someone that's not intimidated by dealing with doctors, but also the same person's not going to ignore the person at the front desk. They're genuine as far as being nice to everybody, no matter who they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very much. What kind of incentives do you offer for your employees?
We have, not a whole bunch, but right now we do a little profit sharing, meaning each quarter we actually give a small percentage to our employees depending upon how much we profited that quarter. So that actually helps our employees, like our office manager. It helps her keep any unnecessary expenses to a minimum. Helps, if you don't have to overnight something, you send it ground. If you don't necessarily need to buy a case of something when you can just buy a box of something. But at the end of the quarter, when we show our profit, they're aware of our numbers, each of our employees get a percentage of that profit. So that is somewhat of incentive.
Yeah,
in the sales world, you're paid a commission. So you're paid a percentage of your sales. So the more sales you have, the more commission you get. So you're actually have built-in reward rather than getting like a salary. Let's say you just get a straight salary, no matter how hard you work.
Yeah.
But in this way, if it's a commission, and that's how we pay our sales reps, you get as much as, let's say you sell $1,000 worth, and you get a 20% commission. You're going to have $200 in your pockets for every $1,000 you sell. You're going to get $200 more in your pocket.
Yeah.
So your commission just steadily builds based on how many units or how many widgets you sell.
What is the worst experience that you've experienced while operating the business?
It was probably the worst experience I felt. I care about the employees, and I care about making sure that they're taken care of first. And when we used to deal with Medicare occasionally will do what they call an evaluation, or they'll scrutinize certain L codes. Those are billing codes that we use for products. And there was one year where they scrutinized functional knee braces. And functional knee braces was a major portion of our business. And when they are evaluating or scrutinizing those L codes that are associated with those products, nothing gets paid on that L code. And so there was a period of about a year where we didn't get any monies for any functional braces until they were done with their evaluation. And since Medicare is a governmental agency, sometimes they really don't care about the little guy. And there was a year that I had 18 reps, and I was still having to pay for their sales, but I wasn't getting any money in. And it became precariously short financially, coming about 8 months into it, when I'm still paying my reps, and I'm having to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. But eventually, Medicare decided the L codes were good, they were going to pay on them. But the irony is, do you think they're going to pay all at once? No, they're going to pay over a period of time. So it took another year to recover from the year that they didn't pay. So that was probably the scariest time in the business industry. Probably one of my personal experiences that turned out to be actually a good experience, but initially was bad. We had this brand new surgical product. What it was called Innovasive, and they were dissolvable screws or darts that actually went into the bone of the shoulder. And we had just gotten this product out. There was a prominent shoulder surgeon in the area, and I had an appointment with him to sell him this equipment, and it came in a case, and it was a surgically a device case for rotator cuff repairs, for labrum repairs, things of that nature. Well, unbeknownst to me, I actually showed up in surgery at the surgery what they call lounge with this doctor, and he came in and he saw my equipment, and he pretty much blasted me and gave me a new one. And basically what it was, he had actually trialed this product. Nobody bothered to tell me this, and he had a disaster with this product. And he didn't like the product at all.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, talk about a sales rep, about myself, and I had just pretty much been in business now for almost a year by myself. And I mean, I'm sitting there with my tail between my legs.
Yeah.
And I basically took a big breath, and I looked at the doctor, and I'm not going to mention his name, but I looked at the doctor, and I said, look, I apologize that you had a bad experience with this. I said, I had no idea that you'd already trialed the product. I said, at least I know where you stand with the product. Can we start over and start square one and see what the improvements are based on what's happened? And to this day, he and I are actually good friends. He never bought any of those products, but he bought some other products from me, and we've probably done business for 20 years. But that was probably one of the most trying times. I could have easily quit.
Yeah.
And at the time, I figured, okay, we've got to start it. And that's the way you look at sales. You look at every opportunity, whether how bad it is or how good it is, as an opportunity, and you go from there. Okay? Does that answer that question?
For sure. I guess, what would be the best advice you could give someone that would be starting out a new business?
Well, the best advice that was given to me, and I'll pass it on to you or anybody else, is make sure you have a very good accountant, and make sure you have a very good attorney, and someone that you can trust. And it's not being facetious, but your accountant is what's going to control your money, and going to make sure that things are Uncle Sam's paid and everything else. And your attorney, because there will be legal issues, whether you like them or not, no matter how good you are, there's going to be legal issues, and you got to make sure you trust your attorney. And that old adage, you get what you pay for, it's true. You know, if you want to go the cheap route, guess what? You're not probably going to get good advice. But make sure you get a certified public accountant, and make sure you get an attorney that knows the business. Okay? But that was the first two things I did, and that's been a godsend.
Makes sense. Almost finished up here on the last couple. If you could change one thing about the way you operate your business, what would you change? Or if anything?
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I haven't had time to think of that. But at the stage of where I'm at right now, if I could change anything, I wish I could have gotten folks like you, Kelsey, Morgan, Paige, more involved in the business, so that one day, rather than just walking away from the business, that we can leave it in the hands of our family and continue the business. But I still have time to do that, so maybe I can still make that change. But that's one thing that Kent, my partner now, and he and I have talked about, is I've been in the business so long that it almost kind of runs itself. You know, you still have to manage it. You still have to make sure the day-to-day activities are handled properly. But it would be nice to continue the business with the younger generation so that they have something to continue to build on. And that's something that we still have an opportunity to do.
Last question, just another general one. What else would you like to tell me about your business or owning a small business in general? What's something that kind of surprised you or that you weren't ready for?
something that surprised me that I wasn't ready for. I don't know, this might not answer it completely, but, one thing that I've learned is that one is, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, find something that you can enjoy. Mm-hmm. Not everything in life is about money. It's more about enjoying what you're doing. Yes, the financial aspects do help. Yes, the financial aspects do provide some security, but make sure you genuinely enjoy what you're doing. That's probably, to me, the most important thing. The other thing is, I kind of relate this story. Morgan, my youngest daughter, when she was probably in, I guess, 7th, 8th grade, when they have daddy-daughter or daddy-Sunday, mm-hmm. You take your daughter or son to work. Every now and then I would take Paige or Morgan to work with me, and they would jump in the car and they'd ride around and they'd see my accounts and they'd see, how I interact with the accounts and sometimes some sales or patients and things like that. But one day I was interviewing a sales rep, and I can remember very candidly, her name was Carrie, and usually when you're doing an interview, you know within that first 5 minutes whether or not they're going to make it or not. Mm-hmm. But you want to be polite enough to where you spend that full half hour or whatever you have allotted as far as the interview time. Mm-hmm. And after being with Carrie for 5 minutes, I knew I was going to hire her. But I also didn't, you're also playing that game because they're trying to structure themselves to where they're trying to get the most amount of money they can. And you're trying to structure yourself to where, you want them to build whatever. So, but she asked that similar question was, Carrie goes, well, what do you do all day? And at that time, Morgan happened to be in the office that day. And I knew at that point in time I wanted to offer Carrie the job, but I didn't want to be so eager and anxious to let her know that. And when she asked me that question, I said, something, Carrie, I've got something to do, but Morgan's here, and she's been with me. She can answer that question for you. And so I kind of walked out of the office, and I said, Morgan, did you hear what Carrie just asked me? And Carrie repeated the question. She said, well, you've been with your dad. What does your dad do all day? And so Morgan's response to her was, well, Dad gets in his car, he drives around, sees all of his friends, and he comes home. That's basically, if you're doing your job properly, your accounts do become your friends. They become your business relationships. Mm-hmm. And if you have that type of relationships with your accounts, you're going to do well because, they do become friends, and they do trust you, and they trust you to handle your patients or their patients, and so everything kind of intertwines together. Mm-hmm. And so the other advice that I give is that you can't be one person in business and leave your business and be another person in personal life. And in my industry, everything is intertwined 24/7. Yeah. So whoever Bill Williams is, he's going to be Bill Williams at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's the same as midnight. Mm-hmm. Whether I'm dealing with my patients or clients or other individuals, that's the same person you're going to see business-wise or personal-wise. And that's something that I'm trying to teach Garrett right now that's helping us with some sales and some setups. And Garrett, is to try to teach Garrett that you can't just turn the phone off at 5. In this business, you have to be available and you have to be ready to service your accounts whenever they are necessary because you don't know when these patients are going to get hurt, when they're not going to get hurt. But once you understand that, and that you can still be that same person 24/7, this business it can be very fun. Any business can be very fun. But you have to have a passion for it. You have to have the energy for it. And you genuinely have to have the love to do that business. Otherwise, it's not going to be successful.
Well, alrighty. Well.
Did I talk too much?
No.
Right.
Perfect. Got everything. I'm going to stop this recording.